Mr. Volkov, we've been looking for you for 30 years. FSB Agent Viktor's voice was cold. Alexei's $500 million real estate empire suddenly became meaningless, because those men didn't just want the money, they wanted his life. The reckoning they'd been waiting for since 1993 had finally come. Alexei Volkov was a name everyone knew in Manhattan. At 58, powerfully built, with neatly groomed silver hair, he always wore $5,000 Italian suits. His penthouse on Fifth Avenue was one of the city's most expensive apartments. As owner of Volkov Properties, Alexei had 47 buildings in Manhattan. Total value, $500 million. Every morning his private driver took him to his Wall Street office. He ate lunch at Michelin-starred restaurants, and evenings he attended concerts at the Metropolitan Opera. According to the New York Times, Alexei was a living example of the American dream. He had come to America from Russia in 1994 with just $50,000 and in 30 years built a real estate empire. But part of this story wasn't true. Alexei had indeed come to America in 1994, but not with $50,000, with $200 million in stolen gold. That morning, he was having breakfast in his penthouse as usual, reading a Russian newspaper while eating beluga caviar. The view showed Central Park. Life was perfect, until someone knocked on the door. Looking at the door, Alexei had told the doorman not to let anyone up. But now a man stood at his door. Normally, he would have called out, "Who is it?" But when he saw the man's face, his voice failed him, because the man at the door looked like an FBI agent. But Alexei knew his real identity: FSB, Russian Federal Security Service. The moment he'd feared for 30 years had come. Has your past ever knocked on your door after 30 years? Right, the past returned. Because Alexei's story is just beginning. When Alexei opened the door, he faced a man about 45 with cold eyes, wearing a dark suit. "Mr. Alexei Volkov?" The man spoke perfect English. "Yes, that's me. Who are you?" The man showed an FBI badge. "Agent Johnson, FBI. We have some matters to discuss with you." But Alexei knew the badge was fake, because he recognized the man, Viktor Petrov, one of the FSB's most dangerous agents. "Of course, please come in," said Alexei. There was no point in panicking. Viktor entered and looked around the living room. A $10 million penthouse, Russian art pieces, antique furniture, crystal chandeliers. "Beautiful place," said Viktor, "the fruit of 30 years of success." "Thank you. Would you like some tea? Let's get straight to the point." Viktor pulled out a file from his pocket. Alexei Mikhailovich Volkov, date of birth, March 15th, 1965, Moscow. Former profession, Bratva leader. Crime, stealing $200 million in gold from the Russian state treasury in 1993. Alexei's expression didn't change. He'd been expecting this moment for 30 years. "I think you're looking for the wrong person. I only do real estate business." Viktor laughed. "Mr. Volkov, we've been looking for you for 30 years. You hid very well, but nothing stays secret forever." Viktor stood up and went to the window. "This penthouse is beautiful, Central Park view, but the view from Lubyanka prison in Moscow is much uglier." Lubyanka, the prison at FSB headquarters, the place Alexei feared. "What do you want?" Alexei was dropping the act now. "The gold you stole, with interest, and you." Has your 30-year secret ever been exposed? Write FSBCAME, because Victor's plans are much bigger. Do you remember 1993, Alexei? Victor asked. Alexei couldn't forget. 1993, 2 years after the Soviet Union collapsed. Russia was in chaos. Mafia groups controlled everything. The state treasury was unprotected. You were very young then, 28 years old, but already one of Moscow's most powerful Bratva leaders. Alexei leaned back in his chair. He remembered those days. In 1993, Alexei wasn't just a mafia leader. Through his government connections, he had access to Kremlin vaults. Massive gold reserves from the Soviet era were stored there. They had made you an offer, Victor continued, to protect the state gold, officially. This was true. In 1993, the Russian government was so weak that they made deals with mafia leaders to protect the state treasury. Alexei had been given this job too. But you had other plans. Alexei remembered that night, November 23rd, 1993. It was snowing. There was $500 million worth of gold in the Kremlin vaults, and Alexei had the keys. You weren't going to steal all of it. You were smart. You only took 40%, the $200 million portion. So it would be harder to notice, Victor smiled, and it would be easier to escape to America with $50 million in gold. You can't prove these accusations. Proof? Victor pulled out his phone. He showed an old video. In the video, young Alexei was visible, loading gold sacks into his car in the Kremlin vaults. The date 1993 was visible in the video. We've been keeping this video for 30 years, and we waited until we found you. Alexei's world collapsed. There was evidence, definitive evidence. So what do you want now? Simple. That gold is now worth $500 million, with interest. You also converted them into real estate investments in America. Now you'll sell those real estate properties and return the money to Russia. What if I refuse? Victor looked at him coldly. Then we take you to Russia, and you serve your 30-year delayed sentence in Lubyanka prison. Have you ever been proven wrong with video evidence? Write video evidence. Because Alexei's options are running out. I live in America, Alexei said in a defiant voice. I'm an American citizen. You can't force me to Russia. Victor burst out laughing. Alexei, you still think this is 1990s Russia. Now it's 2023, Putin's Russia. We can do whatever we want anywhere in the world. Victor pulled out another file from his pocket. Secret report to the New York District Attorney's Office. It contains evidence of your money laundering operations. You're also a criminal in America. Alexei was shocked. Had his American operations also been exposed? We've monitored your every move for 30 years. Every real estate purchase, every bank transfer, every payment transaction, it's all on record. Victor placed photographs on the table. Alexei's real estate purchases from various years, bank transfers, suspicious payments. When you bought that building in Midtown in 2008, you transferred the money through the Cayman Islands. We tracked the stolen gold. Alexei looked at the photographs. Every detail was there. The Brooklyn deal in 2015, $35 million cash payment. Where did that money come from? Of course, from stolen gold. How is this possible? Alexei was talking to himself. Because we're the FSB. There's nothing in the world we can't find. Victor stood up. Alexei, your choice is simple. Either you return the gold and continue to live freely, or you rot in prison in both Russia and America. But how will I return this gold? It's been in real estate for 30 years. Sell the real estate. Transfer the money to a private account. We'll handle the rest. Viktor paused. But there's one condition. What is it? You return the gold, but you won't escape punishment. Russia will give you another task. Alexei's blood ran cold. Would Russia give him another job? What kind of task? Other Russian fugitives in America. You'll find them too. You'll work for us. This was very bad. He wouldn't just give money, he would also become an FSB agent. What if I refuse? Then tomorrow the FBI will knock on your door, and you'll rot in American prisons for 30 years. Then you'll be transferred to Russia and serve another 30 years there. Alexei was desperate. There was prison on both sides. Have you ever been caught between two bad choices? Right, between two fires. Because Alexei's decision will determine his life. That night, Alexei couldn't sleep. He looked at the Manhattan lights from his penthouse. His 30-year life was ending in one night. Viktor came again in the morning. Have you made your decision? Alexei had thought. His options were 1. Return the gold, become an FSB agent. 2. Refuse, go to prison in both Russia and America. 3. Run. But where could he run? If I return the gold, how long will I have to work for you? Until you die. This was terrible, but it was better than dying in prison. I accept, Viktor smiled. Smart decision. Your first job is this. Boris Kozlov living in Brighton Beach. He also stole money from Russian banks in 1995. You'll find him and deliver him to us. Alexei would sell other Russian fugitives to the FSB. This was his new job. But how will I sell the real estate? Gradually, in a way that doesn't raise suspicion. $500 million in sales over 6 months might seem reasonable. Viktor pulled documents from his bag. Sign these. This is your cooperation agreement with the FSB. Alexei read the documents. They were written in Russian. It said he would work for the FSB, find other Russian criminals in America, serve until death. He signed. Welcome, Agent Volkov. Alexei would now live a double life. Real estate businessman by day, secretly FSB agent. The file on your first target, Boris Kozlov, will come tomorrow. I want you to find him in a month. Viktor headed to the door. Oh, and Alexei? Yes? Don't even think about running. We can find you anywhere in the world, and this time we won't be as gentle. Have you ever had to make such a difficult agreement in your life? Write, tough deal. Because Alexei's new life is beginning. 6 months later, Alexei's life had completely changed. He had sold most of the real estate. His $500 million empire had dropped to $100 million, but he was still considered wealthy. He had found and delivered 3 Russian fugitives for the FSB. Boris Kozlov, Brighton Beach banker, Dmitry Petrov, oligarch fugitive, Yelena Volova, arms smuggler. The process of finding each one had been difficult, but Alexei's mafia background had come in handy. That day, sitting in his Manhattan office, his secretary came in. Mr. Volkov, an FBI agent is coming to see you. Alexei's heart stopped. Was this the real FBI this time? The woman who entered was Agent Johnson. Mr. Volkov, I'd like to ask you a few questions. Of course, what's it about? About the disappearance of Boris Kozlov, who lives in Brighton Beach. He had his last meeting with you. This was bad. The fact that he had delivered Boris to the FSB had come on to the real FBI's radar. I know Boris, but I didn't know he had disappeared. He's not missing. He was extradited to Russia in a very strange way. Agent Johnson put a file on the table. In the last month, 6 Russian fugitives have been mysteriously sent to Russia. What they all have in common, they contacted you. Alexei felt himself starting to sweat. This could be a coincidence. Maybe, but the FBI has decided to put you under surveillance. This was disaster. He was working for the FSB while being watched by the FBI. After Agent Johnson left, Alexei called Viktor. The FBI suspects me. We know. It's not a problem. They're doing what we want. What do you mean? Some people at the FBI work with us. You just do your job. Alexei was shocked. Did the FSB have this much influence in America? When he returned to his penthouse that evening, another visitor was waiting at his door. This time, someone he didn't recognize, an elderly Russian man. Alexei Mikhailovich, the man spoke in Russian. I don't know you. I'm Sergei Orlov, Boris Kozlov's father. Alexei's blood froze. The father of the man he'd delivered had come. Where did you send my son, traitor? Has a decision you made ever affected other people too? Right, cause-effect. Because Alexei's choices are hitting others too. Sergei Orlov was a thin, 75-year-old man, but there was great pain in his eyes. My son Boris had only transferred money. He hadn't killed anyone, but you sold him to the FSB. I had to. Did you have to? When you had $500 million, did you have to? Sergei pulled out a photograph from his pocket. Boris's wife and 2 small children. These children will never see their father again, because you sold him to save your money. Alexei looked at the photograph, 2 small children smiling and hugging their father. He got 25 years in a Siberian prison. When the children grow up, they won't even remember their father. For the first time, Alexei felt real remorse. Mr. Sergei, I'm very sorry. I had no other choice. There's always a choice, Alexei. You chose the easiest one. The old man stood up. Before Boris, you sold 3 more people. How many families did you break up? How many children were left fatherless? Alexei couldn't answer. Do you know, Alexei, what happens to such criminals in Russian prisons? Alexei knew. Traitors had a very hard time in prison. Boris won't survive. Maximum 6 months. This word pierced Alexei like an arrow. And this is your fault. Sergei headed to the door. Alexei, money can buy your life, but conscience can't be sold. After the old man left, Alexei felt terrible. That night, he couldn't sleep at all. He thought about Boris's children. He thought about Dmitri's wife. He thought about Yelena's elderly mother. He had sacrificed 3 families to save his own life. When Viktor called the next morning, Alexei had made his decision. Viktor, I'm quitting this job. You can't quit. We have an agreement. I'm breaking the agreement. Then the FBI will arrest you tomorrow. It doesn't matter. I won't sell other people anymore. Viktor's voice hardened. Alexei, I'm warning you for the last time. You can't quit this job. I'm quitting. He hung up the phone. Have you ever made a big decision with conscience remorse? Right, conscience decided. Because Alexei is finally deciding to do the right thing. 2 weeks later, the FBI really did arrest Alexei. Money laundering, tax evasion, organized crime connections. In court, Alexei admitted to the charges. His lawyer suggested negotiating for a lighter sentence, but Alexei refused. I'm ready to pay for what I did. He received a 12-year prison sentence, but even in prison, Alexei continued to change. He donated all of his remaining $50 million fortune to victim families. He established an education fund for Boris's children. He bought a house for Dmitri's wife. He arranged monthly payments for Yelena's mother. He became a Russian teacher in prison. Other inmates called him Professor. After 5 years, he was released early for good behavior. When he got out, he had a small apartment in New York. The real estate empire was gone, but his conscience was clear. He worked as a Russian teacher in the Russian immigrant community. His salary was at minimum wage level, but he was happy. One day, while walking in Brighton Beach, he ran into Sergei Orlov. "Mr. Sergei?" The old man looked at him. "Alexei, you got out of prison?" "Yes, and I'm very sorry." Sergei was silent for a long time. "Boris died last month, in a Siberian prison." Alexei's eyes filled with tears. "I'm so sorry, I wish—" "But," Sergei interrupted, "thanks to the fund you established, his grandchildren are studying at good schools." The two men stood silently. "Alexei, money won't bring Boris back, but it can give his children a good future." Sergei extended his hand. "This isn't forgiveness, but maybe it's a beginning." Alexei shook the old man's hand. "Thank you, Mr. Sergei. If this story affected you, write Conscience Reckoning, because real redemption sometimes begins with losing everything. Alexei's story teaches us this: money can buy everything, but conscience is not for sale. The man who built a $500 million empire over 30 years finally chose to listen to his conscience. He lost everything, but found peace. Real power is not based on money, but on making the right choices. Russia found Alexei. America punished him, but he learned to forgive himself. Sometimes, for redemption, you have to be willing to lose everything. Don't forget to subscribe for real redemption stories. If this story affected you, like and share, because everyone deserves a second chance.